Hey, welcome back to Workshop Wednesdays. Today we're talking about color. We've been taking some time to review the design process, and really we've been honing in on the technical package as a part of the role of the technical designer. This is really important for us to be able to explain this to you because as we're seeing so many changes in our industry, a lot of brands and a lot of designers are still working very much by hand and using very simple tools. And this is just something that has been a part of the fashion industry for a very long time. But we know that there's some opportunity to move the way that we work forward, primarily through integrating more technology. So what we wanted to do was to get a chance to share with you some of the resources that we have here at the ACC Fashion Incubator. We work very closely with Gerber Technology. We've got about $13 million worth of hardware and software that's a part of their full digital transformation package. And so this is a part of a huge digital strategy to see the growth of the fashion industry transformed by technology. So what we're going to share with you today is what we've been kind of going through is which is the product lifecycle management software platform called Unique PLM. But today what we're going to do is, as a part of our technical package conversation, we're going to discuss color. Color is so important for how you categorize and characterize your product. It tells the factory what kinds of machines may or may not need to be used based on how that color affects your materials. It may also impact primarily what threads are going to need to be changed in and out during the production process or even during sampling. This is something that we really wanted to get a chance to unpack a little bit for you because there are some changes that may happen. You won't always, and most of the time, you will not be changing the machine based on the color. However, you will find that there are certain materials that will shift their properties in terms of stretch or performance or things of that nature based on the way that the dye takes to the material. And so as a technical designer, it's really our job to understand how those dyes will affect the material that we're planning to create the garment out of. And so it's a bit of it's one of those roles where you really become kind of a jack of all trades. You learn a lot of different things. You understand how the textiles work. You understand a little bit more about the dye. You may understand a little bit more about the fit and how the garment will come together on the body. And then you are the glue. You're the one who is helping to seamlessly communicate that information to the factory, to the mill, to be sure that that garment comes out correctly. Typically, you're going to be accompanied by a fashion design team, a production manager, maybe even the buyers if everything is a vertical setup where all of the people who are designing and purchasing and producing are all under the same roof. However, if you are what a lot of us are, right, an emerging designer, this job is yours. You will be doing a lot of this on your own. So what we want to do is we want to show you a few different things here. We want to talk about color, really in terms of a kind of a color palette, what's typical here, and how that may show up in the product lifecycle management platform. We also want to talk a bit more about some additional details here. So I just want to get a chance to share with you what this looks like. So I'm going to share my screen here, and this is what the unique PLM system looks like when you log in. You see a beautiful palette in the background there. Whenever I go into color, I get an opportunity to select on the sidebar a lot of different things here, within the tech pack. But if I want to look at some of my, kind of searching for color, where I can look at seasonal palettes that I've already put together, I can see who's created these palettes in the platform and how many colors may already be a part of it. So these are really helpful tools. When I go in to look at this demo that we did with one of our trainers at Gerber Technology, Carlina, she put in a couple of things here. And so what I wanted to show you was just the ability to, upload solid colors as well as prints. And so the prints are already scaled, whenever they're brought into the platform. And so you get a chance you can manipulate that in a different program. However, whenever you bring it into the product lifecycle management software, everything's already scaled and it's already ready to go. So it's clear which one we're talking about. This is the O1 floral, but it looks like we've used that number on all of these to kind of group these together in a single palette. One of the things that I want to mention to you is that a lot of times whenever we go to set up a palette, it's really important for you to create as many customer options as possible. It's key that we get a chance to have a cool color, a warm color, and then maybe something that's neutral or textured to be able to help with selling the product. A lot of times a print will be used kind of as an accent in the collection, unless it's the print heavy line like Etro or Cavalli. You'll see that pretty much all of the styles are solid or are completely prints. They're not solids. Pucci is very much this way as well. So whenever you look at some of these other brands, you can see that print is really what drives their collections. However, there's some brands who are on the opposite side of the spectrum where you really see that solids drive, their collections. So, Kushni was that way. There's a number of brands, LaPointe and some others that are really solids driven. And I think that you guys will see, opportunities to create your own palettes in here as well. But it's really about giving your customer as many options as you possibly can. So one of the things that I really like about this platform is that it also gives you the opportunity to kind of select by season and year. And so that way, as you're working on your palettes, you can kind of see how the flow of your product will look over time. And this is really important because what you'll notice is that the technical designer's role in understanding color and the amount of fabric that's available underneath those colors, they will know something very specific called yield. And yield is really where we know how much fabric does it take. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. How much fabric does it take in order for me to make this garment? So if I'm making a top, is it 2¼ yards? If I'm making a pair of pants, is it 3 yards? So this is really giving me an opportunity to be able to explain clearly like how much of this material, how much of this color is being used or will be seen in the collection. So this is really a strategic moment as well. It's not just picking all the colors that we love. It's really about understanding what will change in production based on the number of colors I do, as well as where those colors show up, how important that is to understand how that looks. And so we want to take a moment to be able to explain that to you, really how that looks in terms of kind of, maybe it's like a print mix or a combo fabric. I'm going to take a second and show you something here that I think will kind of help to illustrate a bit more about what we're talking about. So as I'm looking at this particular file, we did a technology module for our ATX Plus Egypt program. And what was amazing was that we got a chance to share some details. Let's see. So here you see it. So this is the kind of inside of our Acne Market Explorer. But what I wanted to show you is how this garment utilized both of the colors that I showed you in the previous color palette. It used the green, but it also used that like nude shade of pink. And so what I wanted to highlight for you here is that the technical designer is going to know how much of each color is going to be used on each garment in each size. So imagine if I want like a green and blush combo, but I also want maybe a fuchsia and navy combo, and then maybe I want a black and leopard combo. All of those are going to give me a different amount of fabric needed for this one particular panel. And so as a technical designer, I need to know how much of this is being used and therefore how much of that fabric needs to be ordered so that all of the styles look the same. Imagine if you had all of these hanging on the rack together and you had these different shades coming in different varieties. That wouldn't work out well. What if you ordered all of the same thread for, the green because it was a predominant color, but you really also needed the thread for this panel as well separately. So all of these things are what the technical designer is going to take into consideration based on the color choices. And so it's never just a palette. The palette is going to make us think about a variety of different components that need to be accounted for in the cost of the product. And so the more accurate the technical designer is regarding how much material is being used per color, it'll let us know what we should expect in terms of the cost, because that's going to all add up. So the more options I offer, by nature, the more expensive it can be if I don't have a high volume of products. If you're a smaller emerging brand, the more you diversify, the more you offer more sizes, the more you offer more colors, the more expensive it will become. So a lot of times you'll see brands will either stick by one style and offer it in a lot of different colors, or you will see them do maybe several different styles, but it's very similar in coloration, and maybe even use the same fabric for all of them. And so there's a specific reason for that, because every time you make a change, it means that the thread and the needle has to change. It means that there may be some differences in the way that the material handles, because the dye may take differently to the fabric. There's a lot of different things that may happen. A lot of good mills will be able to kind of control for what those changes are. However, I have seen that whenever you get into a very sophisticated color that requires some additional handling, or it's going onto a material that's a little bit more challenging. Dyeing nylons can be that way. There's some things that kind of they react. There's a lot more reaction between the dye stuffs and the fiber. And so as a technical designer, you'll need to be aware of what those things are. If you've never taken a textile course, we would highly recommend you do that if you're really considering this road as a profession. But these are just some things that we wanted to share with you in terms of what's possible and what ways are technical designers evaluating color, and why would they be looking at color? Similar to inspiration, what could a technical designer use inspiration for? But I think as we are working on promoting clear communication between the design team and the factories, we become to understand how that technical designer plays an integral role in connecting the original design intent to the final sample. So I hope you've enjoyed our time today. We love doing these sessions. We'd love to get your questions. Send us a quick email, and we'll be able to provide that information for you here shortly. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.